Hello everyone, hope you're having a glorious day. We are in this series of how do you know what is true? And we're learning that we come to know truth by exploring the world around us with our mind. Now there's all kinds of truth claims out there in the world of ideas, different people saying different things, scientists or theologians. So pastors have backed away from science because they don't want to repeat what happened with Nicholas Copernicus. They say things like, we shouldn't put faith in science, or we can't put any trust in science because it's always changing. Well, DNA is the same structure today as when it was first discovered. Now, scientists, on the other hand, when you confront them about the story of how do you get life from non-life? How do you get a single-celled organism from a rock? Or how do you get complex life from simple life? See, the evolutionary neo-Darwinist theory doesn't have the explanatory power to be able to explain this. And they say, well, we just don't yet have the explanation, but the mechanisms that they're proposing are unchanging, and the observational facts that disprove its power to create new life or life from non-life are unchanging. Before the Enlightenment, the priesthood were the keepers of truth. So if you had questions, they had answers. Now, after the Enlightenment, it became the scientists. So scientists became the new priesthood, the keepers of truth. And today, internet is where we get our truth. We're in a post-truth, relativism. You just shop for the validation that suits your needs. If you don't like what logic or science says, you are your own guru. Well, I would suggest something completely different, and that is science and religion are compatible when you understand their relationship with one another. See, science answers natural claims, not supernatural claims. And when you understand this fact, you realize that the author of the book of nature, science, and the author of the book of life, the Bible, are the same author. Science and the Bible are compatible. So let's look at their right relationship and how we discover this. In the world of ideas, we use reality testing to find truths for things that cannot be directly observed with our five senses. And we've been learning that we come to know truth by exploring reality around us with our mind. This is how we know if the claims of the priest, of the scientist, or an internet page is saying the truth. See, reality testing uses logic. Does it make sense? It uses a verifiable means. Is there a chain of evidence that we can directly trace back to people that did observe it or an observable phenomenon? And is it important? Does it matter? Well, reality informs us of the truth that helps us to formulate our worldview. A Harvard evolutionary biologist, Ernst Mayr, came up with this idea that evolutionary biology is not equivalent to physics or chemistry. What he said was observational science were observable, repeatable, predictable experiments. That was experimental science, operational science. Then there were pursuits that cannot be observed. Examples are the origin of the universe or the origin of life. Evolution falls into one of these pursuits, evolutionary biology. It is a historical forensic type of science. And when we look at the relationship between truth, reality, and science, we understand that science is testable truth. Reality is knowable truth, what we are aware of or can become aware of. And truth is what is true. So let's look at how this works. Consider the truth claim, the earth is flat. Well, this is clearly outside of science. Science doesn't observe or predict that the earth is flat. It's outside of our reality when we fly in an airplane and see that the earth is continually round, that's outside of our awareness or reality. So it's outside of truth. Now let's look at a different truth claim that senses can't be trusted. Remember Immanuel Kant. So things like delusions and hallucinations. Well, the actual phenomenon of delusions and hallucinations can be understood through science. Now, the content of which, like the FBI has planted a chip inside my brain, that is outside of truth. But reality, our awareness of delusions and hallucinations is true. We know people or, maybe have seen people that are experiencing delusions or hallucinations. So it fits within science, within reality, within truth. But the content of the delusions or hallucinations falls outside of truth. Freud called religion a delusion. The difference is the real person of Jesus Christ can be explored through the reality testing mechanism that we talked about. So he makes these claims of being sinless, of performing miracles, of predicting and completing his own death and resurrection, of being God. All of these can be investigated for yourself. Now, let's take this next claim of DNA. DNA is a double helix structure of coded information. The codons specify messages. The language uses an alphabet of 4 nucleotides, adenosine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. And in this language, a typical word is 3 nucleotides long and specifies a particular amino acid. That is within science, observable, repeatable, predictable. It's within our awareness of reality, and it's within truth. Now, what about the statement, science can't be trusted, like the pastor was saying? Well, let's think about a planet on the edge of the universe that is not yet discovered. See, it doesn't make it any less true that that planet exists when it's not within our awareness, because it's not within our scope of the existing scientific tools or satellites or observatories, telescopes. So what about life after death or near-death experiences? Well, most have no awareness or reality of the next realm. Some do that have a near-death experience, so that would be within the awareness or reality of some, but most don't until after they die. Jesus came teaching about the next realm, his kingdom, he called it. And he said heaven can be experienced now and fully after death. And we can test out those claims. Now, there are truth claims beyond science. Science is inadequate to answer some ideas and questions. Some questions or truth claims are beyond the tools of science to answer. In the next video, we will discuss how to reality test truth claims beyond science.